Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour.
Ladies and gentlemen, good day. I welcome you to this annual meeting of shareholders of Bombardier. I also welcome all the participants who are watching us on the website of Bombardier. I'll ask you to turn off your mobile phones, as well as all other electronic devices right now and for the duration of this meeting.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I welcome you to this annual meeting of shareholders of Bombardier. I also welcome all the participants who are watching us on the website of Bombardier. I ask you to turn off your mobile phones and all other electronic devices right now for the duration of this meeting. Notre assemblée se déroulera en
Our meeting will be conducted in French. A simultaneous English translation service is available. If you have not already done so, I invite you to now get a simultaneous translation device from our attendants. For those participants watching our meeting on our website, a simultaneous English translation is also available.
A simultaneous English translation service is available. If you have not already done so, I invite you to now get a simultaneous translation device from our attendants. For the participants watching our meeting on our website, a simultaneous English translation is also available. Je vous présente les personnes qui me
I will be introducing those people who will be supporting me during the course of this meeting. To my extreme left, Mr. Lutz Bertling, President and COO of Bombardier Transport, as well as Maître Daniel Desjardins, Secretary of the company. And to my extreme right, Monsieur Guy Haché, President and COO of Bombardier Aerospace, Monsieur Pierre Allary, Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, as well as Monsieur Pierre Baudouin, President and CEO of Bombardier. I will act as chair of this meeting and Maître Desjardins as secretary. I have before me a copy of the notice of meeting, as well as any other associated documents that are of interest to the shareholders, as well as the affidavit of Maître Desjardins confirming their send-off. I will ask to please file these documents before the meeting. I would like to say that this annual assembly of shareholders has been called upon in order to deal with specific issues. Mr. Steve Gilbert, as well as Madame Sonia Chiavaglia, for the Investor Services Computer Share Inc., will deal with the meeting and will act as scrutineers. According to the reports that were given to us, it is now confirmed that we have the prescribed quorum with regards to the Class A shareholders, multiple voting, as well as the Class B shareholders, limited voting. Bombardier represented either in person, either by proxy at this meeting. I will now ask Maître Desjardins to file the meeting report. And I therefore hereby declare the Bombardier annual meeting of shareholders properly and duly constituted. I would like to ask Maître Desjardins to tell you a bit about the safety instructions. In the case of a fire alarm or fire alarm is triggered, we will ask you to please remain calm and remain sitting and to wait for any corresponding instructions that will be given to you by the person responsible of the Science Center in Montreal. So unless told otherwise, you would have to leave the room by using the emergency exit at the back to my left. All registered shareholders here at the meeting, as well as all of the duly appointed proxy holder, will once again be able to vote by electronic process with respect to each and every proposal. This will allow to accelerate the process, the voting process at the meeting, and to present the results of the ballot on the screen during the course of the meeting. Thus, we will not be voting by show of hands. I would now like to ask Maître Desjardins to go over with you the different modalities associated to this electronic vote. Thank you, Monsieur Desjardins. Those of you who are either registered shareholders or all the other duly appointed proxy holders would have noticed during the registration before the meeting that they were given an electronic handheld device as well as a personalized smart card, including relevant information on all of the necessary measures giving the right to participate by electronic vote. You have to make sure that the arrows at the bottom of the card are facing you and that the card is properly inserted into the actual device. If you have done this correctly, welcoming message should appear on the screen of your actual handheld device. If you hold or represent more than one account, the card that you've been given includes all of the relevant information with regards to your accounts. After the presentation of each of the following proposals having to do with the election of the directors of Bombardier, on the appointment of Ernst & Young as Bombardier auditors, as well as the adoption of the non-binding consultative resolution on Bombardier's approach on issues related to the compensation of its senior executive members, you will be called upon to vote by hitting some of the keypads, either number 1 or 2, in order to indicate your preference. When the vote will be held, the device will post some information and offer you certain proposals for or against. In order to vote, you have to press on the appropriate button according to the proposal that will be submitted to you. Once you would have voted, the word received should be posted on the screen of your device, and you can know for sure that your vote will be counted for. If you want to change your vote, you must press once again on the appropriate button, reflecting once again your new choice. The last buttons that you will have tapped or touched will be the one that will be accepted by the system. All votes represented by the shareholders or all other duly appointed proxies during the course of the meeting will be taken into account and added to those that would have been received by proxy, and the final result will be posted on the screen immediately after the electronic vote was held for each of the proposals. If you have already voted by proxy, you no longer, there is no need to vote once again because your vote has already been taken into account so far. Thank you. Would like to submit the consolidated financial statements for fiscal year ending December 31st, 2013 for Bombardier. The report of independent auditors on these financial statements, as well as the annual financial report to the shareholders. However, as these documents were sent to the shareholders of the companies pursuant to the law's provisions, Maître Desjardins is dispensed from reading them. I will nevertheless ask him to file a copy of all of these documents before the meeting. We will now be proceeding to the elections of directors of Bombardier. Bombardier's manager asked you to take a look at the 15 different directors. You were able to take a look on pages 9 to 22 at the circular, 2014 circular, with the short bios as well as other relevant information of each of these individuals. Monsieur André Bérard will be leaving the board that he had joined in 2004. On your behalf, as well as on that of all of his colleagues on the board, I would like to thank him for his precious collaboration. May I now have a proposal for the election of these 15 candidates? Mr. Chair, my name is Pierre Vienneau. I'm a Bombardier shareholder. I move that each of the 15 following individuals be elected Bombardier directors up until the next shareholders' annual meeting of the company, or up until the election or appointment of their successors: Laurent Baudouin, Pierre Baudouin, Joanne Bissonnette, J.R. André Bombardier, Martha Finn Brooks, L. Denis Deshôtels, Thierry Desmarais, Jean-Louis Fontaine, Sheila Fraser, Daniel Johnson, Jean Semonti, Vikram Pandit, Patrick Pichette, Carlos E. Represas, Heinrich Weiss. Thank you. I need somebody to second the motion. And Mr. Chair, my name is Martine Carrier. I'm a Bombardier shareholder, and I second this proposal. So duly proposed and seconded. We're now going to proceed to the electronic vote. You have to vote on the proposal of each of the 15 candidates at these positions. I'm going to ask Maître Desjardins to go forward with the vote. As Monsieur Baudouin mentioned, you have to vote for each of the 15 individual candidates according to those modalities that I explained previously. The names of the 15 candidates will appear on the screen behind me, and every time the name of a candidate appears and is underscored, you will be called upon to vote and to press on 1 if you want to vote in favor of the candidate, and 2 if you want to abstain, refrain from voting. So we will be starting. The vote is open for Monsieur Laurent Baudouin.
Le vote maintenant est fermé. Nous allons.
Vote is now closed, and we will now vote for Mr. Pierre Baudouin. Perfect. We will now vote for Mrs. Joanne Bissonnette. Thank you. The vote is now open for Mr. André Bombardier. Thank you. Vote is now open for Mrs. Martha Finn Brooks. We will now move on to the vote for Mr. Denis Deshôtels. We will now move on to the vote for Mr. Thierry Desmarais. We will now vote for Mr. Jean-Louis Fontaine. We will now move on to vote for Mrs. Sheila Fraser. Thank you. And we will now continue with the vote for Mr. Daniel Johnson. We now move to the vote for Mr. Jean C. Monti. Voting is now open for Mr. Vikram Pandit. Vote is now open for Mr. Patrick Pichette. Perfect, thank you. Vote is now open for Mr. Carlos E. Represas. And finally, we will move forward with the vote for Mr. Henrik Weiss. In about 10 seconds now, we will have the results shown as for the election of each of the 15 candidates proposed for the Board of Directors. I congratulate each of the 15 directors that you have just elected. I would like to thank the Board of Directors for its governance and tight monitoring. Thank you for your contribution and great counsel that allow Bombardier to continue to show leadership and to have sustainable mobility evolve, offering an uncomparable combination in the sectors of rail and aerospace. We will now move on to the nomination of the independent auditors for the fiscal year. At this moment, you also have two allow the board of directors to establish their compensation. The board and Bombardier management recommends to name again Ernst & Young as independent auditors for Bombardier. Their mandate will finish at the closing of the next General Assembly of Shareholders of the company. May I have someone to move this proposal? Mr. President, Mr. Chair, my name is Chantal Carrier. I am shareholder of Bombardier, and I suggest to name Ernst & Young chartered accountants as independent auditors for Bombardier, and that their mandate to continue until the next annual meeting of shareholders of the company, and that the board be allowed to establish their compensation. Can someone second this proposal? Mr. Chair, my name is Annie-Claude Poirier, and I second this proposal. So the proposal has been moved and seconded. You now have to vote on the nomination of Ernst & Young as independent auditors for Bombardier, and I will ask Maître Desjardins to hold the electronic ballot required. Thank you, Mr. Baudouin. The electronic ballot procedures are the same as before stated. You must press the button 1 if you vote in favor of the nomination of Ernst & Young as independent auditors for Bombardier, or button 2 if you prefer to refrain from voting. And vote is now open. Perfect. The results will be shown on the screen in a few seconds. So there we have the results. In light of the results, I would like to congratulate Ernst & Young for the renewal of their mandate and the trust that you've shown them. The agenda now says that the shareholders or their proxy holders be invited to vote in favor or against the approval of a non-binding resolution on Bombardier's approach on regards to compensation for senior management members. You can read the text of this resolution on the screen behind us or on page 16 of the management's proxy circular for 2014. As it is further explained in the section 4 of the circular on pages 23 to 57, Bombardier's approach for the compensation of senior management members seeks to maximize the yield of the company by favoring a personal yield of the members of its senior management. The policy for compensation of senior management members has the objective to be able to recruit, maintain, and function and motivate the members of senior management in order to improve the results of the company and to increase the value for its shareholders, which has the effect to support Bombardier's commitment to performance compensation. The compensation policy of the members of senior management for Bombardier puts the accent on general compensation, which is the base salary, the short-term incentives, long-term incentives, as well as retirement and social benefits and accessories. The company has the principle to propose the global compensation for the members of senior management at the median point, the 50th percentile compared to similar positions within companies that have international scope and that have the complexity and size of Bombardier in pertinent markets. I would like to remind you that since this is a consultative resolution, the results of the vote will not tie the board of Bombardier. But the Committee of Human Resources and Compensations will take it into account in their analysis in the future for the principle, the policies, programs, and arrangements that have to do with the compensation for the members of senior management. The Bombardier's board recommends you as the proxy holders or shareholders to vote for the approval of this resolution. Before we move to electronic ballot, I will invite you to give us any comment you might have. Mr. President, hello, my name is Willie Gagnon, and I represented the MEDAC, and as every year, I would like to mention the compensation ratio that you have. You know that in the United States, it will be an obligation to show the gap between the highest wage and the average wage in a company. This is part of Dodd-Frank's laws. The Security and Exchange Commission is right now going through consultation to understand how they're going to do the math for the ratio. We know the wages of the 5 seniorest managers. We know the names of the employees. It's on page 2 of your annual report. We know what the salary mass is. It gives us about $85,000 as average wage. So the most senior management is paid 71 times the average wage. I don't know if you know what this year the 5 largest Canadian banks started a study with Merendian Partners that recommends to introduce vertical analysis elements within the compensation policy. I don't think it's the case. I don't see anything like this in your compensation policy as something that would talk about this ratio. Now, for the more positive ideas, we presented a proposal with you this year so that you approve for a recuperation policy in case of fraud, and you did this, and we're very happy, so we have removed our proposal. I will read an excerpt from page 40 of the circular that we asked you to include within your circular, which you accepted to do. We must say that the Shareholders Education and Advocacy Group has made a proposal in case of recuperation in case of fraud in 2013 last year. And this proposal received the support of 8.94% of the votes, and there was another proposal presented this year on the same topic, but after being informed that Bombardier had applied a policy in 2013, the Shareholders Educational and Advocacy Group has removed their proposal. And then if you may move to page 54, on page 54 through 57 in this circular, it is mentioned of an agreement that was signed in case of end of contract with Mr. Navarre, Berkling. Are these the only agreements that you have? Are these the only ones linked to the approval of this new policy? How come there aren't more names on this page? Thank you very much. I think that the policy applies for everyone. Not only these 3 people that are mentioned there, but the policy as such will be applied for everyone. But what is specific to these 3 people then for their name to be on page 54? Is because there's a specific employment contract, because usually we don't have specific contracts, but they have specific contracts. Is there a reason for that? Well, when you hire someone from the outside, especially in high positions, yes, it's a case by case. Thank you very much. Thank you. As you can see, we are listening. I might simply add that in Europe, this is the practice that senior management have contracts. No, these are not European workings in Europe, but I'm just telling you that this is a general practice in Europe. Thank you. Thank you. If there are no more other questions, can I have someone to move the approval of this resolution? Mr. President, my name is Pierre Allard. I'm a Bombardier shareholder, and I move for the adoption of this non-binding resolution for Bombardier's approach to compensation for senior management as shown on page 16 of the management circular for 2014. Would someone like to second this proposal? Mr. President, my name is Roxane Marcel, and I am a Bombardier shareholder, and I second this proposal. Thank you. So proposal was presented and seconded. I will now invite Maître Desjardins to move forward with the electronic ballot. Now I will invite you to speak on the consultative non-binding resolution on Bombardier's approach to compensation of senior management. Press 1 if you are in favor, or 2 if you are opposed. The ballot is now open. Very well. Thank you. So the results will be presented on the screen in a few seconds. And I see that a majority of votes voted in favor of this resolution, so I declare it approved. I will now invite the CEO of Bombardier, Pierre Baudouin, to present his presentations, and he will be followed by Mr. Lutz Bertling, COO of Bombardier Transport, and Mr. Guy Haché, COO of Bombardier Aerospatial.
Chers actionnaires,
Dear shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, good day. It gives me great pleasure to be here with you again today. Your presence this morning, whether you've come in person or are watching online, demonstrates your interest in Bombardier, and this makes me very glad. The annual meeting of shareholders gives us the opportunity to welcome you, as well as to update you on our activities and our results. The world economic recovery continues, unevenly and more slowly than expected due to persisting uncertainty. But at Bombardier, it's not our style to wait without acting. We're moving forward and are taking decisive steps to ensure our success. Hence, in 2013, we continue to set the stage for greater growth by consolidating our rankings as a global leader, becoming more competitive, as well as seeking out growth opportunities where they were. We won major orders around the world. We continued to strategically extend our routes into non-traditional markets that present strong growth potential, as well as, and above all, we continued investing in new products launched some years ago and have achieved significant progress towards their development. More specifically, our C-Series commercial aircraft took off last September and began its intensive flight test program. The results thus far confirm that we are definitely on the right path towards achieving our performance objectives. Our Learjet 70 and Learjet 75 business aircraft entered into service near the end of 2013, and our Learjet 85 business aircraft completed its maiden flight last month. In railway transportation, our Prime-Move charging system, the only inductive charging system that addresses both rail as well as road vehicles, was put into commercial service in Braunschweig last March and will soon be tested in China. Also in China, tests continue with our very high-speed train, Zefiro 380, which achieved Bombardier Transportation's speed record by reaching 385 kilometers an hour. At the same time, we've extended our global reach. In 2013 only, we've added 20 new locations to our aerospace service and maintenance network for a total of 131 across the world. We've penetrated promising new markets, whether it be in the signaling system market in Azerbaijan, with the most valuable contract ever awarded in the Commonwealth of Independent States, or the tramways market in China. In financial terms, This translated into consolidated revenues of $18.2 billion in fiscal year 2013, an increase of 11% over 2012. EBIT margin before special items of 4.9% and adjusted net earnings of 33 cents a share. We continue to show strong discipline with our finances and to tighten our liquidity management so as to be able to pursue our growth strategies. With our commercial activities extending more widely and dynamically than ever, we've been able to secure significant orders and finish the year with a record high backlog of nearly $70 billion. Over 40% of Bombardier's aerospace order backlog is for products in development, proof that our investments have been well-founded, and that the measures we're taking to improve our leadership position have been the right ones. Representing over 4 years of income from manufacturing activities, our global order backlog gives us good visibility on our growth to come. Our future prospects are, in fact, very positive, since world demand for durable transportation continues to grow. This is excellent news for Bombardier, since the entry into service of our new products aligns perfectly with this growth dynamic, which will bring our bottom line toward new heights. Having invested in market segments showing strong growth, we aim to generate $23 to $25 billion in annual revenues by 2016. With our more balanced portfolio, we're targeting $10 to $15 billion in additional annual revenues in a 5-year horizon. In the short term, 2014 will be a year of strong revenue growth, with margin improvement as well as a reduction in our investment, which will, of course, improve our free cash flow. The first quarter began very well at Bombardier Transportation, with new orders totaling $8 billion. Bombardier Aerospace received 91 net aircraft orders. Our total order backlog now stands at some $76.9 billion. On a consolidated basis, our revenues in the first quarter, ended March 31st, totaled $4.4 billion, while EBIT, before special items, totaled $219 million, resulting in a 5% margin. Furthermore, we took advantage of favorable conditions in the financial markets in order to renew our bank credit facilities. We've also successfully refinanced part of our debt, allowing us to extend its maturities while increasing our liquidity by $500 billion, the best possible proof of our financial partners' confidence in our business plan. Looking longer term, the irreversible phenomena of globalization, demographic growth, urbanization, environmental protection needs, and the aging of existing aircraft fleet, as well as rail rolling stock, will continue to fuel strong growth in world demand for aircraft and trains that are more and more efficient, comfortable, and environmentally responsible. Aircraft are used more than any other mode of transportation over long distances and are essential for economic and social development in the modern world. We expect 20 years of strong growth in this industry. Our new business aircraft, such as the Learjet 85, will stimulate demand. Our large global business jets are already a big success, and so much so that with our new Global 7000 as well as Global 8000 jets in development, Bombardier is becoming the uncontested leader. And we intend to achieve the very same success with our C-Series program. As I mentioned it earlier, flight tests continue to yield results that are consistent with our expectations. What's left now is to complete the tests as well as to confirm that the aircraft meet the expectations. Achieving 300 firm orders from now until entry into service, scheduled for the second half of 2015, is very realistic, and we maintain our target of capturing 50% global market share for 100 to 149-seat airliners, a market not properly addressed by our competitors. Guy Echier will have more on this in a moment, as you'll hear. Rail transportation is barely affected by economic cycles and continues to grow consistently and sustainably around the world. With galloping urbanization, the future belongs to cities. Rail transportation is the most environmentally responsible mode for urban, suburban, and even interurban transportation, with high-speed as well as very high-speed trains. Bombardier Transportation, the world market leader, is expanding its presence in key markets and continues to gain significant orders from around the globe. As of January 1st, we have been implementing a new organizational structure to drive innovation, as well as share best practices and synergies, and reduce our execution risks. Lutz Bertling will explain to you in greater detail the measures we have taken in order to continue to improve his group results. Ladies and gentlemen, mobility is without a doubt a sustainable growth or source of growth, one that shows enormous potential. We've anticipated this potential by continuing to invest even in times of crisis. And we are seizing this potential by carefully targeting areas of the market that are booming so as to position ourselves in order to be number one. Shaping the evolution of mobility, that is the promise we've made to you, and we intend to honor that promise. Our new aircraft and trains will be game changers in the markets. Our record order backlog is the best proof. For all these new solutions, the key now is to finalize testing as well as effectively prepare for their entry into service. As a period of development is starting to taper off, an era of strong revenue and earnings growth is emerging. And so is a new phase for Bombardier. We're both excited and realistic and are managing this transition period in a way to ensure that our investments and targeted efforts bear fruit and create value for our shareholders. Before I conclude, I would like to thank all our employees for their passion as well as their dedication. I also would like to thank my management team for its daily support. Allow me to acknowledge the presence of Lutz Bertling, President and Chief Operating Officer of Bombardier Transportation, who is here for the first annual meeting of shareholders. So welcome, Mr. Lutz Bertling. I also thank the members of the Board of Directors for their active and wise involvement, and especially André Bérard, who leaves us today after 10 years of fine and loyal service. André, I thank you personally for having always advised me in a frank and direct manner. Last, I would like to thank you, our shareholders. Your constant support and confidence are essential for us to build the evolution of mobility while also creating value. I can assure you that throughout the company, the mission is the same for everyone. It's all about driving up the bottom line. Thank you for your attention. I now hand the floor over to Lutz Bertling. Lutz? Thank you, Pierre. Ladies and gentlemen, with a strong German accent, I will be making my presentation in French. So good morning. As Pierre just mentioned, this is my first annual meeting of shareholders, and I'm very happy to be able to speak to you this morning as President and Chief Operating Officer of Bombardier Transportation. Since entering my role last June, I have toured our sites and have met many teams. I can tell you that I am really very happy to have joined Bombardier, and I have several pieces of good news to share with you today. Bombardier Transportation is a world leader in the railway industry, an industry that's resilient and growing. Historically strong in rolling stock, Bombardier Transportation has diversified its portfolio in growing segments, such as signaling or turnkey transportation systems, and today offers a complete range of solutions in rail transportation. Our portfolio, one of the broadest and most innovative in the industry, is also the most diversified. It is our greatest advantage in the face of strong international competition. In 2013, our revenues amounted to $8.8 billion, an increase of 11% over 2012. Our EBIT margin of 5.8% remained stable. We've increased our free cash flow by 37%. That's right, 37%, for a total of $668 million versus $488 million the previous year. In 2013, in addition to fulfilling several hundred contracts around the world, we were very active on the commercial side, securing significant contracts in all segments as well as in all regions. As of December 31st, 2013, our order backlog totaled $32.4 billion, including several new orders from existing clients in Singapore, San Francisco, Germany, and France. These are the very best demonstration of our customer satisfaction and of customer confidence in our innovative products and services. Western Europe, with its aging and saturated rail networks, maintains a high level of investment, as operators have no other choice but to replace or expand their vehicle fleets in order to keep up with the growing number of travelers. They do so notably with our Flexity teams or trams, as well as our Electrostar trains in the United Kingdom, our Movia Metro cars in Sweden, as well as the double-decker Regio 2N trains in France, our Flexity trams, as well our Twindex double-decker and Talent 2 regional trains are in Germany, where we won a major contract for a maximum of 450 Trax electric locomotives. In rapidly growing non-traditional markets, we once again have combined several approaches. In China, tests on our Zefiro 380 very high-speed train continued with success. Yes, great success. We also entered the flourishing market of tramways by signing a technology licensing contract with a Chinese corporation who won orders for 18 conventional as well as 15 catenary-free tramways, of which we will be the key supplier. In Saudi Arabia, we have won a contract to supply the technology for the new metro line in Riyadh, following the 2012 opening of a project management school to develop a new generation of managers in order to fulfill the kingdom's ambitious vision for urban transit. In Russia, we've developed partnerships with local players in order to design and produce locomotives and to jointly develop metros for the Commonwealth of Independent States. In Azerbaijan, we're proud to have signed an initial signaling system contract, the largest signaling contract ever awarded in any Commonwealth of Independent States country. This geographical diversification of our backlog allows us to effectively reduce our execution risks. Furthermore, we have a strategy in place to reach a high level of standardization as well as reuse of proven techniques and solutions. We set ourselves apart from the competition, notably with our cutting-edge rail technologies, our large global presence, and our industry-leading expertise in project management and engineering. These competitive advantages have enabled us to secure the majority of the most important projects in this sector over the last 3 years. And we have no intention of stopping here now, as we're on the right track. We're resolutely optimistic about the future, whether over the short or long term. The prospects for the rail market are excellent, both in traditional as well as emerging markets. Europe will remain the most important market for rail transportation. France and Germany, after having invested in intercity and regional transportation, will invest in next-generation urban solutions, while the United Kingdom will invest massively in metros as well as commuter trains. North America is also a dynamic market, where major investments are expected. Cities like New York, San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, Montreal, as well as Toronto, are looking for transportation solutions that are more efficient and more environmentally responsible. New opportunities will also rise in urban transportation in Mexico. And furthermore, services that are now often subcontracted by carriers, as well as new American norms for signaling systems, will be sources of revenue. Lastly, several corridors for high-speed and very high-speed trains remain on the horizon. The Asia-Pacific region, for its part, will put emphasis on urban public transit. China, notably, will be accommodating more and larger cities and will have enormous demand for rolling stock, as well as services, signaling, automated people mover, and monorail solutions. In India, we expect the rail market to be active in solutions for public transit as well as locomotives. We expect Australia and Southeast Asia to also continue investing, especially in public transit and transportation of goods. Major events like the Olympic Games and the World Cup of Soccer often require host countries to invest in transportation, a challenge that's crucial for their success. More than once, we've shown our ability to provide service and support during such events, notably in London in 2012. This involvement resulted in us being named Supplier of the Year at the National Transport Awards 2013. Eloquent evidence of our ability to work with our clients on common objectives in the service of travelers. The challenges of demographic growth, urbanization, traffic jams, limited oil resources, and high costs of energy continue to work in favor of rail transportation. Mega cities like Beijing and Mexico City are suffocating. A few months ago, even Paris needed to implement alternate driving days and free public transportation. Around the world, climate changes are becoming more and more frequent and more extreme. As we say at Bombardier Transportation, the climate is right for trains, because rail is the most environmentally responsible mode of motorized public transportation, emitting the least CO2s. Furthermore, it is the mode that offers the most capacity for passengers while using less space. Rail is therefore the perfect answer to the increased demand and capacity from carriers in urban zones that are becoming more and more populated. While traffic jams waste time, energy, as well as money, while polluting, rail transportation saves time, energy, and money, and while polluting less. Bombardier disposes of the technologies, expertise, as well as local routes necessary to build the evolution of mobility in key markets with innovative solutions that are always more efficient, comfortable, environmentally responsible, and smart. To make our organization stronger and the best we can possibly be, I and my executive team have developed a new management structure. It is called 1BT. Deployed across Bombardier Transportation from last January 1st, this structure aims to reduce our costs, speed up decision-making, increase standardization, all while saving in order to be able to invest in new solutions to offer increased added value for our customers. This structure will improve project execution, will enhance customer satisfaction, and will create greater value for our shareholders. 1BT will be a true journey and will need several years to arrive at its final destination. But once reached, Bombardier Transportation will be all the stronger and will be more recognized by its clients as a partner of choice, as well as respected by its competitors as the leader of the industry and the leader of innovation, valued by its employees as an employer of choice, and lastly, a corporation with an attractive level of profitability, generating the capital necessary to further invest in our common future. In the short term, in addition to executing an important backlog, we will seize excellent opportunities across all corners of the globe. For 2014, we expect to increase our revenues by 5% and generate an EBIT margin of 6% while maintaining our goal of 8%. We have had a very good start to the year, very good, securing major orders in the first quarters from, for instance, San Francisco BART in the United States, Queensland Rail in Australia, Crossrail in the United Kingdom, as well as Transnet Freight Rail in South Africa. Net orders in the first quarter of 2014 reached $8 billion for a record order backlog of $38.4 billion. Also for the first quarter, revenues totaled $2.3 billion, while EBIT totaled $114 million for a margin of 5%. Before concluding, I would like to update you on your contract for Montreal's Metro. The first Azur trains have completed their initial test phase at our La Pocatière site. The first car was delivered last Monday, and we will soon begin testing at the STM site, a phase that will continue through November or so. Ladies and gentlemen, today you've seen that Bombardier Transportation is poised for profitable as well as durable growth. Millions of people travel in great comfort aboard our modern trains every day, and we owe this, above all, to our employees, whom I would like to thank. I have met many of them since my arrival, and I'd like to tell you how impressed I've been by their passion as well as their dedication. I am very confident that together we will keep Bombardier at the top. Or, as they say in English, the best is yet to come. Thank you for your attention. I'll hand the floor now over to Guillechet, the President and Chief Operating Officer of Bombardier Aerospace.
Thank you, Lutz. And by the way, very nice French. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. 2013 was a notable year for Bombardier Aerospace. It saw us reach several of the milestones for our future growth. We're coming to the end of one of the most intense development phases of our history. The efforts and investments of the last few years are about to turn into revenues, finally. Here are the highlights of 2013. The development project that all eyes are on, the C-Series aircraft program, completed its maiden flight in September. The certification process is underway, and I'll come back to that in a few moments. On the business aircraft side, the Learjet 70 and Learjet 75 aircraft were awarded their certification and entered into service with our clients. The Challenger 350 business jet was launched in 2013, and first deliveries should begin this summer. On the customer services front, we continued our international deployment with the addition of 20 new customer support and services locations in cities such as Johannesburg in South Africa, Le Bourget in France, and Beijing in China, among others. Several important transactions were completed in 2013. I'll mention a few. In business aircraft, FlexJet placed a firm order for 115 aircraft of various models valued at $2.4 billion. An undisclosed customer placed a firm order for 28 Global and 10 Challenger jets worth $2.2 billion, and VistaJet ordered 20 Challenger 350 aircraft. For commercial aircraft, Ilyushin Finance of Russia ordered 32 CS-300 aircraft valued at $2.6 billion with options for an additional 10 aircraft. This was our most important sale of commercial aircraft in 2013 and one of the most important C-Series orders since the launch of the program. It's a powerful sign of the confidence these aircraft inspire. American Airlines placed a firm order worth $1.4 billion for 30 CRJ-900 next-gen aircraft with options on an additional 40. The airline is the first to take delivery of the latest version of this ultra-performing aircraft. We also strengthened our presence in new markets. We sold the number of Q400, CRJ, and C-Series aircraft to customers in Russia, China, the Ivory Coast, the United Arab Emirates, Nigeria, Iraq, Thailand, and Rwanda. We sell planes around the world. With these transactions, our order backlog reached $37 billion, which includes $3 billion in repair and maintenance activities. And it is important to note that more than 40% of our order backlog is for aircraft under development. Bombardier Aerospace's products attract a lot of interest, and the increasing diversity of our clientele is further proof of this. Over the last 20 years, 80% of our sales have occurred in our traditional markets, North America and Europe. In the next 20 years, 50% of our sales will be in emerging markets. As such, we're making a great deal of effort to penetrate these new markets. Let's move on to our results for 2013. Revenues for Bombardier Aerospace reached $9.4 billion, an increase of 8.8% over 2012. Our earnings before interest and taxes, or EBIT, reached $418 million. That's 4.5% of revenues, the same return as last year. Cash flow usage totaled $1.2 billion for the fiscal year ended December 31st, 2013. It was $867 million in 2012. It's no surprise that our investment programs are putting pressure on the cash flow of our business. But as I have mentioned, we're coming to the point when these investments are turning into new revenues. Towards the end of the decade, our new C-Series, Global 7000 and N8000 and Learjet 85 aircraft programs will contribute to doubling Bombardier Aerospace's revenues. In fact, our revenues should grow from $9.4 billion in 2013 to a potential of $17 to $21 billion. Our new programs will therefore represent a sales potential of $8 to $12 billion. The entirety of our activities will be better balanced across three growing areas of our business: commercial aircraft, business aircraft, and aftermarket services. Today, Bombardier Aerospace is in an excellent position. I'd now like to take a few moments to go into more detail about a subject that everyone loves to talk about. And I'm no different. It's a topic that I'm passionate about and that we're all very proud of. As I'm sure you all know, I'm talking about the C-Series aircraft. I can tell you that being there on the runway right here at home in Quebec last September 16th, watching the maiden flight of the aircraft was absolutely amazing. That day was one of the highlights of my career. What struck everyone was how quiet the aircraft is. Although we were only a few meters away from the plane, several of us almost missed the memorable moment when it took off, in one fluid motion, quickly and silently. The sound footprint of the C-Series aircraft at takeoff is up to 4 times lower than any other aircraft of its size. Therefore, they will eventually be able to use urban airports without disturbing nearby communities. This means new opportunities for clients who will be able to offer new connections in addition to benefiting from substantial cost savings, a 15% operating cost advantage and a 20% fuel consumption advantage. Knowing that fuel is the largest cost driver for airlines, this represents a significant gain. And for passengers, the C-Series aircraft will provide unrivaled comfort, larger seats, more legroom, more room for carry-on luggage, and larger windows, offering a better view and more natural light. It all adds up to the most enjoyable flight for an aircraft of this size. Bombardier Aerospace was right on target with the C-Series aircraft, and the industry knows it. The C-Series program is shaking up the industry. It's no coincidence that Airbus, Boeing, and Embraer rushed to retrofit their existing aircraft with new engines to try to serve the 100 to 149 seat market segment. But a new engine on an old aircraft will never be able to deliver the same performance or the same savings as an aircraft that's 100% new. Bombardier is the only manufacturer that is not modifying an existing aircraft to serve this thriving market segment. Those who change things are not those who sit on the sidelines. They're people who dare. Bombardier Aerospace is among those who dare. Since 1989, we have launched 31 aircraft development programs that have all redefined standards. As our chairman of the board of directors, Laurent Baudouin, has said, of course you will find people who are skeptical about the C-Series program, as there were with the CRJ and the Global Express. Had he waited for their clearance, chances are that we would still be on the ground today. Each and every time we've won over the skeptics and earned our success. We are innovators. It's in our DNA. We have the talent, the expertise, the ability, and the rigor to design new aircraft like the C-Series. And let me tell you, it's quite an adventure. First, there were the technical studies. Each system and each technology of the C-Series aircraft were selected by a team of engineers to deliver the best performance for our clients throughout the entire life cycle of the aircraft. For instance, we chose to make the wings out of composites, but the fuselage out of an advanced aluminum alloy, aluminum lithium. Next, we had to identify what we would produce ourselves and what would be designed and manufactured by our partners. For example, we turned to our Belfast site, which has 40 years of experience in composite materials and has been responsible for numerous innovations for the design of the wings. We chose to work with the best and strongest partners on this revolutionary aircraft. We brought in suppliers from around the world to work on the C-Series program, including some from here in Quebec and Canada, and we coordinated all these efforts on a global scale. And while putting all this in place, we also prepared the certification process with Transport Canada. We first demonstrated that the innovations on our drawing board would conform to regulations. We ran thousands of simulations, ground tests, and structural tests. For instance, to test the solidity of our wing structure, we applied the most extreme force that could occur in flight to demonstrate a wing, and then increased that by 50%. We are now at the flight testing phase. This is a series of tests, and when key milestones are met, another aircraft takes flight. To date, we have 3 CS-100 aircraft in flight testing. By the end of the process, 7 planes will have been used, 5 CS-100 and 2 CS-300 aircraft. Once the flight tests are completed under normal conditions, we'll test the aircraft to its limits in terms of altitude, speed, acceleration, deceleration, and load. We'll induce problems, system failures, and human error to test the aircraft's recovery mechanisms. We'll test everything, even an engine failure. And that's not all. We're putting the C-Series aircraft through a series of extreme climate tests, ranging from minus 54 degrees Celsius to plus 53 degrees Celsius. Our FTV-2 aircraft is currently undergoing these tests at the Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. So far, the plane is handling very well. The flight test results are in line with our expectations and calculations. Fuel consumption at cruising speed, takeoff and landing performance, the general behavior of the aircraft, all is going according to plan, and the test pilots only have good things to say about the aircraft. The investments we're making in the extremely rigorous certification process for these aircraft are necessary. They will ensure flawless entry into service. The C-Series aircraft will live up to Bombardier's reputation. They will meet the expectations of our clients and generate the revenue and the value expected for a corporation. The market has responded very well. Our aim is to reach 300 firm orders from at least 20 customers before entry into service, which is expected in the second half of 2015. To date, 18 customers and operators have placed 203 firm orders, and if we include options and other commitments announced so far, the total is 447 aircraft. With what we see in potential orders, I'm confident we'll reach our goal. The market segment for the C-Series aircraft should generate 6,900 deliveries over 20 years. Our objective is to capture 50% of this market. The C-Series aircraft program will be another historic success for Bombardier Aerospace. We're all enthusiastic about the potential for the C-Series program, but we have other exciting development programs underway in business aircraft for which Bombardier remains a reference. For our clients working around the world, we offer more comfort, more flexibility. For the companies that buy our products, we offer greater efficiency and greater productivity. For the communities we serve, we offer greater connectivity. There is an exciting global market for business aviation. Revenues will double over the next 10 years. Over 20 years, that's $650 billion. We are currently the leader in business aviation. Competition is fierce, but we will solidify our leadership position by reinforcing our product portfolio. Let's begin with our growing range of Learjet aircraft. On April 9, I had the pleasure of attending the inaugural flight of the Learjet 85 aircraft in Wichita, Kansas. It was a great moment filled with emotion for the hundreds of employees who have dedicated years of their lives to the development of this aircraft. The flight testing phase has now begun. The Learjet 85 aircraft will be the largest and fastest Learjet yet, offering customers more range than ever before. The market for light business jets is very active. A total of 4,600 deliveries are expected over the next 10 years. Turning to large business jets, the Global 7000 and Global 8000 aircraft are generating enormous interest. These are high-performance work tools that leave the competition far behind, with greater range and, above all, unrivaled comfort and luxury. Our development program is on track. The fabrication and assembly of the cockpit, center, and rear fuselages of FTV-1 has begun. These aircraft will enter into service in 2016 and 2017, respectively. The global family of business jets is expanding to become the undisputed market leader for large business jets. This market represents 2,400 deliveries over 10 years. As for the Challenger family, the backbone of many business jet fleets, it's expanding as well. The Challenger 350 aircraft was launched in May 2013. More efficient and more comfortable, it was specifically designed to meet the highest expectations of the mid-sized business jet clientele. In fact, Bombardier leads this segment, with over 40% of the deliveries during the last 5 years. In addition to developing new programs, we continue to enhance the potential of our flagship products by adding options that increase their versatility. I'll give you 2 examples. Let's begin with the Q400 turboprop. It can now offer an increased capacity up to 86 seats, a configuration option that allows for a passenger cabin and a cargo hold, and the possibility of a dual-class configuration, an option that's been a big hit with our clients. With these new options, the Q400 turboprop is reinforcing its competitive position and offers new market development opportunities for our customers. We also continue to improve the CRJ next-gen family of aircraft. These planes remain the benchmark in the regional aviation market. They outpace the competition in efficiency, reliability, and economics. But Bombardier Aerospace isn't resting on its laurels. The CRJ next-gen family of aircraft has become even better. It's more efficient. Fuel consumption has been reduced by 5.5%, which represents annual savings of $150,000 per aircraft for our clients. It's also more comfortable. Passengers are raving about the new cabin. Bombardier was the first manufacturer to develop a regional jet, and we intend to remain a leader in this market. Bombardier Aerospace is looking to the future with confidence. In each of our segments, we're strategically positioned with aircraft that will offer the best performance in the industry. The other essential component of Bombardier Aerospace's activities is its aftermarket services. Some 6,500 Bombardier aircraft are now in use around the world. There will be close to 9,000 in 2020. We are therefore growing to support our customers wherever their business takes them in the world. We're rolling out our service installations through an accelerated development in the new markets that will account for half of all our overall sales in the years to come, as I mentioned earlier. The goal is to offer the best service possible as close as possible to our clients. In the coming months, we will increase the capacity of some of our service centers. More and more will be open 24/7. We will extend our geographic coverage by pursuing, among other things, discussions to open our first service center in China in partnership with the government of Tianjin. We're still at the start of 2014, but it's shaping up well, and we can already take a look at the first quarter. We sold 91 business jets and commercial aircraft. Our biggest sale was of 16 CS-300 aircraft worth $1.2 billion to Al-Qatani Aviation. On the services side, we've just opened a new center in Singapore and regional support offices in Singapore and Mexico. As for results, our revenues totaled $2.1 billion compared to $2.3 billion for the same quarter last fiscal year. Our EBIT before special items was $105 million, or 5% of revenues, compared to $101 million, or 4.5% for the same period last year. We delivered 56 aircraft compared to 53 for the same period last year, and our backlog reached a record $38.5 billion at March 31st, 2014. It's been a dynamic start to the year. All in all, ladies and gentlemen, we can say that 2013 was a pivotal year for Bombardier Aerospace. It's a year that saw us begin to move from an intense phase of development to an intense phase of growth. We're at the start of the runway, ready for takeoff. Our strategy to increase our profitability is simple. First, increase our market share throughout the world with our current products and new aircraft programs. Then, improve our aftermarket service and continue our international expansion to be located close to our clients. And finally, improve our execution to continuously reduce costs, achieve greater reliability, and greater business efficiency. I'd like to thank the 37,000 Bombardier Aerospace employees around the world. Together, we share mankind's greatest dream, to fly, and we do it with passion and excellence. To you, our shareholders, your confidence is one of the ingredients of our success. It is precious. Thank you. It will now be our pleasure to answer your questions or receive comments. If you can clearly state your name and mention if you are a shareholder or if you hold a proxy. Mr. President, again, Willie Gagnon, again, for the MEDAC, and I'll make the same comments that I usually make. It would have been nice to have the presentation from part of the chair of the board and the departments that you have before the election of the directors. It's what happens in the large banks in Canada. It's always interesting to know what happened during the year before the election of the directors. It's simply a question of preference for us, and I would also like to congratulate the fact that all this assembly is being held in French. It's not because we speak French that we can't move a very big business everywhere in the world, and you are an amazing example of this. We are told the opposite pretty much all the time, pretty much everywhere, and I'm very happy that you exist. Thank you very much. Is this microphone open?
My name is Koch, and I'm a shareholder, and it's on the debt. When do you think you'll be able to start reducing the large amount of debt that's there? The liabilities are almost as much as the revenue.
We made it clear in 2008 when we decided to develop new airplane, and at the same time as there was a financial crisis, that we would invest in new products, and we're getting into a phase now that the investment in new product are starting to reduce, and we'll start to see the revenue generation of those new airplanes coming on stream shortly, and therefore increasing our cash flow, and our first priority will be to deleverage the company.
But will it be in 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years when the cash flow will start reducing the large debt?
Well, if you look at this year, we've given guidance on our level of investment and cash flow. You can see in those guidance that we're getting close to a neutral cash flow. If you take the range of the guidance that we've given. And next year, we further reduce our investment in development. And of course, in 2015, we also start to see the revenue generation of the C-Series and new products we've been developing. So then we get into a positive curve, permitting us to look at deleveraging the company. The first debt that would be available to reimburse for Bombardier is in 2016.
Thank you.
Hello. I have 2 questions. One small technical question that I would like you to answer just by yes or no, not to lose too much. On the C-Series, on the picture, there's a large engine and a smaller one. Is that an optical illusion, or is there one engine larger than the other? I guarantee you that it's an optical illusion. And I have a question. There's something I didn't understand well, or not at all. In terms of Bombardier Transport, the orders are $30 billion, and the revenue is $8 billion. So how can you say explain such a gap between the actual revenue and the orders? Because the orders are contracts over several years, so that we have to deliver through the years, and includes after-service agreements with our clients that are often on 20 to 30 years. So it's normal that it be higher than the revenue, because these are orders that allow us to anticipate the growth of the company in the future. Thank you. May we have your name just for the minutes? My name is Jacques Dubreuil. Thank you, Mr. Dubreuil. André Lépine, a shareholder for quite a while now. The C-Series, that's something very nice, and I'm very happy. But now I'm asking myself a question with what's happened with Alstom. Alstom, which you were in preparation with for the Montreal Metro. Yes, Alstom is actually a competitor of Bombardier, and we're following very closely what's happening in France with Alstom. Alstom is a competitor of Bombardier, so we want to evaluate what the impact will be if there is of the anticipated transaction. And also, Alstom is also a partner for Bombardier, and what we can see right now is that Alstom will stay in the transport industry and will continue to invest, so we'll continue being both a partner and a competitor. And with GE for the moment, it is up to them to see what the acquisition strategy will be, but they seem focused on the energy division and not the transport division. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Hello, Paul Brunette, a shareholder. My question is on the Russian market. It's an important market for you, both for trains and airplanes, aircraft. So there are large orders. And so where are you at with that right now? And, of course, as you said, it's an important market for Bombardier Transport and Bombardier Aerospace. So we have many projects on the way right now, and a lot of Russian clients for both commercial and business aircraft. And we continue to negotiate and do business in Russia and negotiate the different agreements we're working on. Of course, we're following what is happening, and we will respect any sanction that will be put in place. But for now, or throughout the organization, we continue with our very active commercial activities with Russia. Thank you. If there are no further questions or comments to present, would someone like to move for the adjournment of the meeting? Mr. President, my name is Pierre-Hugues Frichette, and I move to adjourn the meeting. Is there someone to second this proposal? Mr. President, my name is Marie-Geneviève Crépeau. I am a Bombardier shareholder, and I second the proposal. So thank you very much. Thank you very much to everyone for being here. And we will continue to develop our company and to always try to improve our numbers. So thank you very much.